Well, hello and welcome back, or welcome if you're a first time viewer. I appreciate everyone who has found and liked me. Oops, sorry, I'm a little wild. I've been in front of a fan for a few minutes. I am sitting in my father-in-law's kitchen today, and I am crazy knitting Nana. The only reason you'll not see me in a craft room with a wall of yarn behind me is because, well, I don't have a craft room at the moment. I have a junk room. Today's video, I wanted to do because I wanted to be able to say Happy Valentine's Day. I'm hoping that sometime soon I'll be able to do a giveaway. It's not like I don't have the yarn to do that. I do. I have lots of yarn. It's just in totes and boxes and bags. But one day, hopefully, I'll have it all set up and looking really nice. So today's video is about what you need to know before you start knitting. And I was taught to knit when I was 7 by an aunt, and I was reintroduced by a friend when I was about 36. I'm now 57, and I've learned things along the way that probably should have been told to me before I started knitting. So I want to share a lot of fun little gadgets and things that you may need along the way. Now, the only thing I don't have with me are knitting needles, and that's because this was a prompt-to thing. So I'm just going to show you the knitting needle that I have. This is called an interchangeable circular needle. Now, you don't have to be doing anything in the round. I love my circular needles, and I use them for flat knitting as well as circular knitting. So they will come in pairs, of course, because you have to have 2 needles. And they come with interchangeable cords as well. And these usually interchangeable set. So you get lots of needle tips most of the time. This set was a smaller set. Sometimes you get sets that have needle sizes 2 through 15 or 3 through 15 or like this little set is 3 through 9, I think. But that's okay. It's a good little set. This one I got from Knit Pro, which is the overseas part of Knit Picks. So they're pretty much the same thing as Knit Picks metal needles. Another thing you will need is a tape measure. It doesn't have to be my little black sheep, but hey, I got him, so I get to show him off. This one has your inches and your centimeters. Of course, this isn't being very good. I apologize for the lighting and the other stuff. Plus, you will need stitch markers. These come, you can actually put them straight into your stitch because it has the little hook there. So that way you can mark your front or your back or how many rows you've done by putting one every, say, 10 rows or every 5 rows or every 20 rows, however many rows you want to make it. And then I have some that you wouldn't want to knit into your stitches. These you just slide along your hook. So how does this work? Well, you put it between your stitches. So if you're doing a pattern of that has, you do so many of one thing and then so many of another, you can put these between those stitches, and you've got 5 stitches that you're knit 1, purl 1, or you're knitting 2 together and yarning over for so many, and then the next repeat. So you want to divide them into the repeats, so if you mess up, you'll be able to tell where you messed up and be able to fix it without having to take row after row after row off. Now, I don't have one thing with me either, but what you can do is, if you are doing a lace pattern, of course, for my beginners, you're not going to be doing lace when I'm teaching you, but some beginners are pretty fast and pretty smart about things. So you can use dental floss, and when you finish a row, you can run the dental floss through, and you can do that by using a darning needle, and darning needles come in many different shapes and sizes and all that. So you can put your dental floss through there and run your needle through the stitches that are on your needle. So if I needed to, I could take any one of these 3 darning needles and put some floss in there and run the floss through the needle, through the stitches, and not take the stitches off the needle. And then as you knit, if you mess up and you get so many rows up and you realize, I made a mistake, well, you can unravel, and it will unravel only to that string, to the dental floss. It won't go past that because it acts as a snag. So again, but you have your darning needles, which are what you want to. Don't have to use these. You can use a crochet hook to weave in your ends just as easily. I was taught with, crochet hook, and then I discovered these. And they all come in different, again, different sizes, because you have different sized yarns, and you don't want to, you don't want to use one that's too big or one that's too small and you can't fit your yarn through. You also have cables. So when you learn to knit, in some knitting patterns, there is what is called a cable. And a cable is where you take something like this, or even something like this. It has the notches in it. And you'll slide, whatever the pattern tells you, you'll slide that many stitches onto here, or onto one of these, or I don't have another one with me, but they come in different shapes and sizes as well, so that it fits your yarn too, or fits your style. These are what I had on hand. And you'll slip your stitches, whatever the pattern says. So if it says cable 6 forward or cable 6 backward, you'd slide 3 stitches maybe onto your cable needle, and you'll hold it to the front and work 3 stitches, or you'll hold it to your back and work 3 stitches, and then you would work the 3 stitches that are on the cable needle. And that makes a nice little twist in your fabric, gives you the pretty little Celtic knots, or just real pretty little patterns throughout your whatever you're working on. And I will, in later videos, be teaching cabling and lace and things like that. But this is to get you ready to learn how to knit. And that's going to be my next video, is casting on, knitting, and purling. And then my video after that will be casting off. Because I don't want to put too much in one video. But I think you can learn the first 3 basics pretty quickly, the way I teach. Just like anything else, there's many different ways to knit. And there's many different ways to cast on, there's many different ways to bind off, and there's many different ways to do your cabling. You can actually do it without needles. And I may do that later on too. And here's some more stitch markers. These are kind of a soft plastic ring that you can, hang on, let's see if I can get it turned around so you can see the, there we go. It's got, you can snap it or unsnap it. It's like a jelly ring. A lot of people don't like them. Here's a safety pin type ring. These tend to break after so many uses, but they're cheap and they're easy to get and they're pretty nice for using. Of course, scissors. You need scissors. I like my small ones because, well, you know, most of the time my yarn is not fabric size. And you also, oh, and of course, as I've been showing you, stitch markers come in all kinds of ways. These are doves. That might be a little bit better. He's got a little sparkle on the bottom. And again, he just slides from needle to needle as you get to him. You don't want to knit him into your project. When I first started knitting and it said use stitch markers, all I had were these big round ones and I didn't understand how that worked. I actually had to get, thank goodness by that time YouTube was up and there were some videos, and so I learned what to do with that because the person who showed me had a stroke and was unable to work with me on that. And I do have some more. These are some more of the yeah, just the circular ones that you would want to scoot from row to row. Just simple, very simple ones. I have way too much stuff according to a friend of mine. Sorry, I was trying to dig a few more things up. This is a small stitch holder. You don't have to have a stitch holder unless you want to. You can use yarn or some other string. You want to use something that's a little bit smaller than the yarn you're working with. But what these are good for are if you're working on a sweater and you have to put the arms on the holder, or you have to put, you know, if you're doing it in pieces. And yes, sweaters can be done in pieces, and I was actually told by a knitwear designer that a sweater done in pieces is more sturdy than a sweater done in the round. However, I don't like to seam. So I still do sweaters in the round. You also have a couple of different fix-it tools, so if you drop a stitch, you can pick your stitch up without having to rip it all the way back. And in later videos, I will be teaching that as well. As a beginner, ripping back is a good thing because then you really get the idea and learn. So this has two different size hooks. The bigger one up here and the smaller one there. And this fits on a keychain if you want it to. I don't. I keep it in my knitting bag. Find you a knitting bag because those are good too. This is another fix-it tool. So for bigger yarn. But it has a pointy end, so it kind of helps too. If you need to put your yarn on here and bring it up. But the hook end is really good for picking up your stitches as you go along. Again, don't worry about that. I'll teach that at a later time. Let's see, what else do I need to show you here? Oh, you also need a row counter. Now, unfortunately, I don't know that the numbers will show up very well on here. This does have numbers on both sides. I really wish I could get it to show up, but it is a row counter ring, so it fits on your finger, and you can turn it, you know, so you can keep count of your rows. I may have made a mistake there by doing that. I started a shawl, which is waiting on me to finish it. Now, when you get ready to start color work, if you're using 2 or more colors, up to 3 colors really, this also has, so this also fits on your finger, and you can just use it when you're knitting. If you want to, you can put it on your left finger or on your right. I'm going to be teaching you right-handed to knit. I will do a continental style later, but you fit your yarn right underneath these little things. And color work you'll not do right now, but we'll learn at a later time. And it's a little bit smaller holes or holders. So it comes with about 3 or 4 of these things, and there 3 of them is what I have. So large, medium, small yarn. And then this will tell you the size of your knitting needles. So if you buy a knitting needle and the size wears off or you forget, you can use a gauge. And this is just one of many. Tomorrow I'm going to do another video with a re-unboxing, and it has a knit gauge in it too. The re-unboxing will be an interesting one. I'm not going to go over that right now either. And then these are to put on the end of your needles so that your work, especially if you're using straight needles, so that your work won't slide off. You put that on there and your yarn can slide up to it, but it won't slide off of it. Now they come in different sizes because, you know, your needles come in different sizes as well. Now, we've learned a little bit about some of our tools. Let's learn how to read a label, because what I'm going to want you to get for the Learn to Knit video is cotton. I don't have a cotton ball on me right now to go over that label with you, but I'm going to show you a yarn label anyway that I have with me. Maybe I might have a cotton yarn label in my bag. Excuse me. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, I do. So I'll show you that too. What I want you to use to learn to knit is either a sugar and cream cotton, a peaches and cream cotton, or any of the following. Peaches and cream, Mainstay by Walmart. You can go to Hobby Lobby and get their, I love this cotton. I think the Crafter's cotton is more like this cotton, and the gauge is more like this. You can also get Joann's cotton, and I'm sorry, that just left my brain. I'll look it up and put it at the bottom of the video later. Michael's carries sugar and cream, Joann's carries sugar and cream, and there's other yarns that are like sugar and cream that you can use. I do not suggest that you get Pima cotton right now. It's a very slick cotton, and its gauge is a bit smaller. Now, if you do get Pima cotton, it's fine, because the Pima cotton will make for a nice face cloth or washcloth. You can also use it as a gift. I don't know for learning, because it's very slick. And I want you to get a Takumi or clover needle, because I like how the cords move with you and they're not difficult to use. Size 8 needle, 16-inch cord. Yes, I want you to get a circular needle. Now, if you can't afford to run out and get yarn and needles, but you have yarn and needles at home, then go ahead and use those. Cannot use cotton, cannot use acrylic, or you can use wool. You would have to felt it, and that's a whole nother can of beans. That's something that I might do later on down, or you can go find it elsewhere on YouTube, how to felt. That's not something I do at this time. I'm just not really into that. And you will find out what you like and what you don't like to do. You know, some people don't like to do lace. Some people don't like to do baubles. Yep, there's a thing called baubles. Some people prefer to do only lace. And some people prefer to only do felting. It's okay. We all have our likes and our dislikes, and nothing is wrong. So, on with the labels. So again, this is a sugar and cream label. It says super size on it. And on the back, it has, on the back and sides, it has all kinds of information. You may not be able to read it, but I will read it to you. So on the back, it tells you the lot number. This was white. The lot number was 102018, or that might have been the color number, and the lot number was 18001. It is 100% cotton. That tells you that, shucks, I know it's 100% cotton. This was made in Canada from 100% cotton. It's called a medium or a 4-weight. Now, I'm going to tell you that yarn weights are not consistent, so you have to be careful. And you might want to, gauge swatch, but that's later down the road again. So this is a medium 4, and it pretty much is. You want to use a size 4.5 millimeter or size 7. I want you to use an 8. I want something a little bit bigger so you can see what you're doing. Crochet, it calls for an H or a 5 millimeter. You can wash it and dry it. I, however, would do it in cold water, not hot water, just because some colors can run. Of course, this is all white, so if you do it with the whites, it's fine. It's not going to hurt it any. And so you'll know what to look for. You want a size 4 weight, and you want a size 8 circular Takumi needle. I do not suggest boy. I do not like their cords. I do not like their interchangeables whatsoever. And I do not care, this is my personal, so you can do whatever you like, use whatever you have on hand. I'm not saying you have to run out and buy exactly what I tell you to buy, especially if you can't afford it. Don't worry about it. I understand. I don't work. My husband does. And, if it wasn't for him, I'd be up a creek. So, use what you have on hand if you can afford to, or if you need to, then get what I ask you to get. Of course, the Takumi or clover needles are a little more expensive, but they're a better needle. I particularly don't like plastic or acrylic needles. And that was that one. Now this, I made a baby hat, baby sweater, baby booties, and I'm working on a baby blanket out of it. This is called a size 3. And, yeah, I'm sorry. And it's thin. And that's exactly what a size, I think this is a true size 3. It's very thin. It's 100% acrylic. It's called Ice Cream Big Scoop. And it requires a size, I'm sorry folks, this lighting in here is terrible. A size 5 needle or a 3.75 needle. I'm actually using a little bit bigger needle because I wanted it a little bit looser. And you can throw this in the washer and dryer in cold. Well, I wouldn't throw it in the dryer unless you put it on low heat or no heat. I would let it lay flat to dry because it is acrylic. And I think that is about it for today. I think I've talked long enough. You're probably bored out of your gourd. Thank you. Have a blessed day, and I hope you will subscribe. Make sure you click on the bell and click it so you'll get all my notifications, and hit the thumbs up if you found this informative and any good. And leave me a comment below, hopefully a good one. And I hope you do have a blessed day, and I wish you each well and happy. Again, happy Valentine's Day. Bye.